This young man's name is Ronan, a talented warrior, the last survivor after a fierce battle with giants threatening the world's existence. Although victorious, his joy was tinged with bitterness as the entire Imperial army sacrificed themselves, and his brilliant commander, Grand Marshal Addison, was nearly crippled and lost an arm. Just when he and the Grand Marshal seemed to have successfully protected the world, a more powerful giant force suddenly appeared, pushing humanity into despair. Before breathing his last, Addison used the power of time slip to send Ronan back to the past, giving him the chance to change fate and become the strongest swordsman in Imperial history. With experience from the future, Ronan is determined to change fate, protect the world, and prepare for the final battle against the giants. That's a brief description from Ed. Let's get straight to the main content. On a gloomy day, the rain poured down heavily. The crimson sky made people feel somewhat uneasy. The quiet ground was littered only with corpses. Blood spilled everywhere, mixing with the rainwater, making the scene even more terrifying. Ronan stood among the corpses. He had gone through a fierce battle. He looked tired and exhausted. Almost no one survived here except Ronan. He leaned his head on his sword, sweat streaming down his face, the clothes on his body no longer intact. Others had swords pierced through their chests. Some were shot in the back. Almost everyone was maimed in some way, red blood flowing from their bodies. Ronan looked up, scanning his surroundings cautiously. After the battle, his eyes and mouth were bleeding. Before him lay an entire fallen legion, a scene filled with casualties. Only the flag they carried still stood tall there. He said, "So many of them died." Ronan was almost completely exhausted, sweat covering his face, his eyes fixed on one point, showing clear fatigue. He couldn't help but curse. "Damn it!" A steady voice sounded. "Ahuit was too careless." His sharp intuition sensed something unusual. He immediately looked down below. There lay a person's belly, so large that the abundant rainwater formed a pool on it. The figure spoke menacingly. "To think there's a human this strong." He saw the giant's eyes looking like they would explode, teeth clenched tightly. "You're still alive." Ronan was standing on the belly of the giant Ahuit. The giant looked terrifying with white eyes, 4 horns on his head, and his body covered in sword wounds. His arms were spread wide as if exhausted. His white wings also looked incredibly tattered. Ronan stood on Ahuit while the giant lay flattened. Before this battle, he had looked incredibly powerful and strong, the giant Ahuit. Previously, he and his 3 brothers had come to the Empire together, causing chaos at will. Wherever these giants went, tens of thousands of people did not survive. Seas of fire killed everyone. Corpses piled upon each other. Among the 3, one had 2 horns, one had 3 horns, the remaining one had 4 horns. After appearing in the Empire 20 days prior, they had arbitrarily caused chaos. He was the last of the giant trio. Back to reality. Ronan suddenly stomped hard on Ahuit's face, the impact splashing the water on his belly everywhere. He placed one foot on the giant's nose, face to face with him. At this moment, Ronan held the upper hand. He said, "So why aren't you dead yet? Don't worry. It won't be long now. Ahuit will soon return to your side." The giant's eyes shone brightly, but he showed no reaction to this action. Ronan looked at him contemptuously and said, "All right, your dead friends are waiting for you." Despite the humiliating actions, Ahuit seemed indifferent, but upon hearing Ronan's words, he reacted, "Friends, yeah, the 2 who came with you." Recalling the deaths of those 2 wasn't pleasant either. One became a giant chained by a fire-breathing dragon, and the other was permanently sealed by an old man named Lorahan. Having said that, Ronan seemed satisfied with his words. His eyes glared widely at the giant. He smirked with satisfaction. Even though sweat covered his face and his clothes were tattered, his appearance still intrigued people. "Got it, you fool." Ahuit didn't want to listen, he retorted. "Don't hide the truth, powerful human." Ronan was clearly surprised by the giant's words. The rain continued to fall relentlessly, drops landing on thin hair, teeth clenched together. Ahuit continued speaking. "I know those enemies are all buried with their kin now. And, his deep and frightening voice echoed, "That means powerful beings like you no longer exist." Although he was a giant, lying on the ground with Ronan stepping on him, Ronan looked more powerful than the giant. Hearing Ahuit's ridiculous words, Ronan chuckled scornfully. I'm still alive and kicking right here. What are you talking about? Although Ronan's words were sharp, the giant still found a loophole. His eyes lit up as he began to retort. Don't speak too soon. I know your time is almost up. I'm quite happy, but... Ronan's foot pressed against the giant's face, but Ahuit didn't care and continued speaking. If you had realized your skills earlier and focused on training, you would have become a major obstacle to our ambitions. As if hit a nerve, Ronan clenched his teeth in anger again, lowering his head and muttering, All this time, you... His smile vanished, his mouth downturned, his cold gaze directed downwards, no longer wanting to hide anything. He revealed everything about himself. That's right, I don't need you to tell me my life is miserable, so shut up and die. Hearing this, the giant's expression didn't change. He said, You are a great human. You have the right to be proud. Ronan picked up his sword as if ignoring the giant's words, but Ronan's strength seemed to have reached its limit. His panting grew incessant. Ahuit said, In the end, your world, he continued, will soon be swallowed by the starlight and disappear. Not letting him finish, Ronan struck, causing Ahuit to slam his head hard onto the ground. He jumped forcefully onto the giant's neck and delivered a powerful sword strike. A large beam of light erupted from the point of impact. The giant's head flew far away, along with dirt kicked up by the force of the blow. Through the hole in the horn, a ray of light from the sky shone through. Ahuit probably couldn't have imagined such a painful death. The head fell heavily to the ground. After killing the last remaining giant, Ronan turned and walked away, looking at his retreating back. There was no lingering attachment to this place of piled corpses. Ronan's eyes held a few more degrees of indifference, coldness, looking down at a point below. The relentless rain continued to fall, mixing with the blood that had long stained the ground. The scene looked utterly desolate. After a long while, he unconsciously wondered, What do you want me to do about what happened? Ronan walked with empty thoughts, his foot stepping into a red puddle, creating ripples. Ronan's body was exhausted and seemed about to collapse right there. He struggled to drag himself forward, step by step, as despair gradually took over his body. As if seeing something unexpected, Ronan suddenly looked up, still panting heavily. A scene from the past emerged. He was still in the army with his comrades. They were all tall and strong. Everyone was talking and laughing cheerfully. Only Ronan was slightly smaller. He seemed quiet and had difficulty fitting in, even though everyone was friendly. Ronan suddenly noticed a friend beside him. The friend turned back and smiled at Ronan. This person had a long scar over his eye and his hair was parted in the middle. Perhaps it was this person who helped Ronan integrate better with everyone. Later, they went to the battlefield together, considered comrades who faced life and death together, always accompanying each other on every path. But in this fierce battle, he lost his life. A sword pierced through his iron armor and stabbed straight into his stomach. Blood spurted everywhere, making him panic. But it was too late. His eyes stopped at one point. Are you all here? Ronan stopped at a place where the corpses of his comrades were piled up. They all died incredibly painful deaths, pierced by swords. Ronan's best friend lay before him, breathless, dying with his eyes open. The scene induced despair more than anything else. He cursed loudly. You stupid bastards! Ronan knelt down in pain, both physical and mental. Why were you so arrogant as to fight to the death? Did you think, because I was strong, you were all strong too? He reached out and closed his friend's eyes. This was perhaps the last act Ronan could perform for this friend. You should have known when to run, you fools. Ronan remained kneeling there, blaming himself, blaming his comrades too. Why, the giants could even counter the strongest aura sword of the Empire. Why was only my sword able to fight them back? He stared intently at his friend, guilt constantly tormenting Ronan's soul, even though he was not at fault. He said, If it weren't for that, a personnel soldier like me would definitely have had to go to the front lines, and you wouldn't have died. Ronan's eyes were filled with despair. He slumped down into the long pool of blood, having survived a life-or-death battle where only he remained. Ultimately, the one left behind was the most pained. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the utter darkness. Is anyone there? Because of that voice. He abruptly looked up in surprise, his eyes wide. Someone said, "I'm injured and can't move." The sound of their voice seemed somewhat familiar to him. This voice, as if realizing something, surprise was evident in his eyes. "She's still—" The person continued to try calling for help. "Anyone!" Ronan immediately stuck his sword into the ground and went to find the owner of the voice. He stood up and shouted loudly, searching. "She's still alive!" Ronan dragged himself forward with difficulty, the pain forcing him to grit his teeth. As if he had found the person he was looking for, his eyes stopped at one point. He ran towards the distance where a heavily injured girl was. This person was Addison Akaluzia. He was overjoyed to see her, a smile appearing on his face. "So you're still alive," he continued. "Commander-in-Chief." Akaluzia wore tattered clothes. She sat leaning against a large rock, covered in blood, her face visibly tired. He said, "Addison." Chapter 2. Ronan gritted his teeth helplessly, unsure what to do. He slowly approached her and inquired, "What happened to our brilliant leader?" Addison couldn't help but be surprised that he was still alive. She said, "Ronan, aren't you just a corporal? You're not that strong yourself." She remembered something important and asked seriously, "More importantly, is Ahuit dead?" Hearing this, Ronan immediately replied, "Yes, I killed him. His body is lying not far from here." Addison sighed in relief. "Is that so?" This surprised Ronan, wondering why she asked. Suddenly, tears rolled down Addison's cheeks. She mumbled, "He's dead." Crying, she silently thanked him. "Thank you so much, Corporal Ronan." He silently watched his commander-in-chief, surprised that someone as cold as her would also have a day crying. Ronan raised a thumb, implying, "If you're that grateful, could you possibly grant this request of mine?" Hearing this, Addison wondered. "A request?" He explained, "About handling the bodies of those loyal soldiers. Normally, according to regulations, iqali, their bodies would be burned or discarded. But this time, could you order their bodies to be handled a bit more decently?" She looked at him, pondered for a moment, then said, "I'm not sure about that. I'm even more battered than you right now. So wouldn't it be better if you took care of them yourself?" As soon as he finished speaking, Ronan started coughing violently. "Oh my, Commander, how could I dare? Cough, cough, cough." He held up his blood-stained hand. "Cough. See, I'm hardly any less battered than you." Ronan looked at the blood from his mouth. "I could die at any moment now, too." He looked regretful. "Usually, I just wander around, haven't even done anything significant. And now I'm forced into this grave situation. Heavens, why so unfair?" Addison asked him, "Suppose you survive. Is there anything you want to do?" He smiled and replied, "Of course, tons of things." Ronan looked up at the sky. "However, the only thing I can think of right now is—" He wondered, "I wonder what it feels like to go to the academy," she questioned. "The academy." Ronan recalled the memory of his fight. That damn giant said some things that made me keep thinking," he continued. "But more importantly," Ronan revealed, "it's because of my older sister's last wish. She wanted me to go to the academy." He sighed. "But it's such a pity. Maybe in just a few more minutes, I'll be reunited with my family." Addison tried to salvage the situation, reassuring him, "When the rain stops, the rescue team will start searching, you know." Ronan remained calm. "Hey, I already told you I'm listed as missing. Why do you keep bringing it up?" Ronan fell silent for a moment, then said, "Such pointless things." Suddenly, the rain began to subside. Sunlight gradually appeared. The commander-in-chief and Ronan were startled. He looked up. "What's this? Has the rain stopped?" Addison also couldn't help wondering. The storm suddenly stopped. At this moment, the ground began to shake. An earthquake occurred. Both were alarmed, not knowing what was happening. Ronan was annoyed. "What is it?" He suddenly noticed something. An 8-winged monster with dazzling light appeared. Ronan shouted, "8 wings!" Not only that, hundreds of monsters also gradually appeared. Ronan panicked. "What the hell is this, them? Where did they crawl out from?" Seeing the sight before her, Adasan felt helpless. Impossible. Weren't the three giants the end? Her voice trembled. In the end, I still couldn't save the world. 3 times. Adasan despaired, speculating wildly. Only one last chance left. I can't think of anything else. A voice interrupted her train of thought. Commander, Ronan shouted. Commander-in-Chief, startling her back to reality. Huh, he scolded. What's wrong with you? You need to control your emotions. Quickly, use telekinesis or something to throw me up there. Damn it, my sword can't reach them from the ground. She froze for a moment. What? He continued shouting. Aren't you planning to destroy them? Adasan was stunned. In this situation, you still intend to fight? Ronan looked at her helplessly. What else are you kidding? Are you just going to sit there and wait to die? He was serious. But even if I have to die... Ronan drew his sword and continued. I have to tear off the wings of these savages first. Adasan thought to herself, even at this point, he still hasn't given up. She realized something and sighed. That's right. He's that kind of person. Otherwise, how could we have come this far today? She thought, if it's him... Faced with his determination to fight, Adasan froze for a moment. She placed her hand on his shoulder. Corporal Ronan. He turned his head and asked, What now? He looked annoyed. I'm busy. Less nagging. Suddenly, she unexpectedly rushed forward and gave him a passionate kiss, leaving him stunned. Ronan thought, What is this? From Adasan's mouth, a blue gem was transferred into his. He looked utterly confused. What did you just put in my mouth? She leaned close to his ear and whispered something. After hearing it, Ronan was shocked. Wait, you're... He tried to hear what she intended to say. Ronan pushed Adasan away. The situation is like this. And what nonsense are you talking about now? She called his name, Corporal Ronan. Adasan asked Ronan, if we meet again, could you tell me not to try doing stupid things anymore and just be content as a seamstress? These words astonished Ronan. All this time, I've done so many things. She looked at him and smiled. But I've never tried that before. Hearing that, Ronan also thought for a moment, looking straight at her. The 8-winged monster summoned its power, aiming straight at the 2 humans before it. Instantly, a terrifying explosion occurred. Adasan's gem glowed and then vanished into nothingness. Ronan opened his eyes, waking up, gasp. He exclaimed, Commander-in-Chief. Ronan shouted her name loudly. Commander-in-Chief! But the peaceful scene before him couldn't help but surprise him. He was surprised. No. Impossible. This place. Could it be... Under his hand was a lush green meadow. Ronan, startled, stood up. He couldn't believe his eyes. My old hometown, Nimbutan. Have I really returned to the past? At this moment, the system panel announced special attention, Regression Day. Chapter 4. Chapter 3. Under the large tree. Ronan sat hunched, leaning against the trunk, sighing wearily. One hand covered his forehead, his eyes vacant from the recent events. The Commander-in-Chief's words were actually true. Recalling that fateful moment, Ronan had been greatly alarmed by Adasan's actions. Their lips met. She transferred a gem to him. This startled Ronan, causing him to ask, What did you put in my mouth? But she appeared extremely calm about her plan. She explained, What you just swallowed is a gem that can turn back time. Adasan looked at him with a gaze serious enough to make her upcoming words even more believable. That's why someone who used to be a seamstress like me, could climb to the rank of Commander-in-Chief. Although this gem allows time reversal 4 times, I've already used it 3 times, so there's only 1 chance left. Adasan's gradually narrowing eyes softened, filled with hope for him and her own helplessness. So I'll give it to you. The power that can kill the giants. Knowing full well that she and Ronan couldn't currently deal with the giants, she continued whispering in his ear, I believe you are the key factor in preventing this world's destruction, so you need to train your skills. I'm glad you want to do that too. He hadn't expected his casual remark from before to be remembered by Adasan. He panicked. What, I was just talking nonsense? Despite his denial, she instructed, If you want to study, go to Filian Academy. There are excellent people there, so I'm sure it will be useful for you. Back to reality. Ronan gritted his teeth. Damn it, the more he thought, the angrier he became. Seriously, heavens, if this is a dream, let me wake up quickly. But even if I really return to the past, what can I do alone? Suddenly, Ronan's eyes widened in astonishment, as if remembering something. Wait. This is the past. With the thought appearing in his mind, he gripped the wooden stick beside him tightly. Then Ronan sprang up, looking straight at the large tree trunk. His nimble feet stepped quickly across the green meadow. Finally, holding the wooden stick, he ran very fast, his heart filled with joyful thoughts. I can meet my sister. Under the dazzling sun, Ronan, holding the stick, dashed through the crowded street. Thinking of the prospect of meeting his sister again filled his heart with eagerness, his expression brightening. If I really came back, just a little further. Suddenly, Ronan's eyes caught something that surprised him. From afar, Han's group was bullying someone, making him unable to resist cursing. Those bastards. Seeing the victim's pained, struggling expression, Ronan wondered, why hang a child upside down like that? He decided to turn away, not wanting to interfere, as he was too familiar with Han's wicked actions. They haven't changed at all. But just as he turned, Ronan noticed something strange. Wait, that child isn't hung by a rope, but by magic. The appearance of someone who could use magic in this remote area confused him. Why is someone valuable like this, rarely seen on the battlefield? That appearing in this rural area, remembering something important, he exclaimed in astonishment. Now I remember. Around this time, they must be here too. The atmosphere around Axel turned gloomy. He trembled violently, his face gradually becoming fearful. How long are they going to do this if this continues? Something will happen. To that kid. The upside-down child pleaded incessantly. Please! Stop! One leg was wrapped in a magical light stream. He cried and begged. I really don't have money. My mom's medicine this month is very expensive. His pitiful situation didn't touch Han's compassion. He sneered. Hey, so what do you want me to do? Why should I care about your mother's health? Moments later, Han's face hardened. He raised his hand high. Each word uttered was accompanied by a hard slap, distorting the child's face. If you are a filial son, then you should earn more money. Suddenly, Han stopped and turned to look at Axel. Hey, he ordered. This guy still doesn't know his place. Hang him from the treetop. Hearing this, Axel panicked greatly. He hesitated. I can't do that if I pull him higher and my hand slips. Han spoke irritably. Are you a girl to be so scared? Aren't you already hanging him up? He warned menacingly. Shut up and pull him up quickly. Axel, before you get hung up with him. Axel's face turned pale with fear. His brows furrowed, confused by the current situation. How did things turn out like this? Was learning magic a mistake? Recalling the moment he happily performed magic for the townspeople, he emphasized, I just wanted to show everyone that I'm good at something too. His magic-wielding hands trembled violently. His conscience gnawed at him. I have to tell him I can't do it. But Axel grimaced, tears welling in the corners of his eyes. I'm so scared. He bit his lower lip hard, cheering himself on internally. No, I still have to say it. While Han and his gang eagerly waited, Axel spoke tremblingly. Please. The moment Axel uttered, please stop, was also when a wooden stick swung towards him. After hitting him on the head, Ronan reminded him, stop it, you bastard, kill it now. The magic was interrupted mid-cast, causing the light around the boy's leg to disappear. He fell heavily to the ground, surprising Han's group. Han was furious. What are you doing? Han rushed towards Axel, not forgetting to raise his fist threateningly. He says stop and you stop. Did you think I was joking with you or something? Axel cowered. No. I didn't mean to. Suddenly, Ronan stepped in front of him, calmly saying, Hey, Axel, don't bother with that trash. And talk to me. Axel now realized who had just hit him. Ronan, Ronan ignored Han behind him and continued the conversation. Now I have something to talk to you about. Han was angry at being ignored. Hey, you bastard, seriously? Ronan asked curiously. Where did you learn that teleportation magic? Axel shared honestly. I learned it from a magic spell book bought from a street vendor. His answer made Ronan both surprised and admiring. Learned from a cheap spell book and became that good. He pondered. Amazing. I'll need to observe more to be sure, but with this, when facing the giants, a long sword was slowly being drawn, accompanied by a sharp sound. With his skills and battlefield experience, Ronan instantly recognized it upon hearing this sound. Seeing Han's furious face holding a long sword, Ronan was surprised. A sword, Han growled. You dare ignore me? Han's eyes seemed to spit fire, veins bulging on his forehead. He brought up the past. It seems ever since I intentionally lost to you, you've become arrogant, haven't you? As soon as he finished speaking, he charged at Ronan with his sword, shouting, But today I will set you straight. Danger approached, but Ronan remained calm. He looked at the blade rushing towards him, silently assessing. Oh, this real longsword. Where did this guy pull it from? Terrible stance. But he's quite strong, so he can dominate around here. He gently leaned back, dodging Han's slash, feeling proud inside. Of course. It's nothing to me. Han's eyes showed astonishment, his face slightly uneasy, seeing Ronan easily dodge the attack. He dodged it that easily. Ronan was pleased with his body's reflexes, thinking to himself, even though my body is younger, some things remain the same. The thing connected to my body when I was still a disciplined soldier. Combat intuition. To hide his momentary unease, Han mocked himself. Lucky. I was planning to make you unable to lift a spoon for the rest of your life. Hearing this, Ronan didn't bother arguing. That's right. I'm really lucky today. Even though I've been unlucky my whole life. Not giving up on making Ronan submit, Han continued to raise his sword threateningly. In that case, kneel and beg, then I'll spare your life. Of course, you'll only have one arm left. The words had no psychological impact. Ronan mocked. Wow. So scary. Seemingly unaware of Ronan's indifference, Han continued, If I kill you, I'll definitely treat your sister very well. Hearing him mention his sister, Ronan immediately asked sternly, Did you just say sister on the other side? Han replied mockingly, Yeah. Every time I see her, I think her butt is really tight. Not waiting for Han to finish, Ronan's face darkened, his terrifying eyes directly swinging the wooden stick forward forcefully. Drops of blood splattered, glittering in the air. Han stood stunned, as if he hadn't yet understood what had just happened to him. Seeing one of his ears fly into the air, he was shocked. The long sword fell heavily to the ground, making a piercing sound. Bone-chilling pain shot through him. Han screamed in horror. He clutched one side of his head, groaning in pain. My ear! Causing his subordinates behind him to turn pale with fear. A pair of brown shoes approached him, accompanied by a cold voice. Hey! Ronan's face darkened. He growled angrily. You damned bastard! Ronan's eyes bulged, so angry that veins popped out. Do you want to die? Chapter 4. In the empty lot, the thugs watched Ronan beat Han to a pulp. They said fearfully, How could this happen? He cut off his ear. On the wooden stick, red stained it, dripping onto the ground. With that wooden club, Ronan spoke, startling them. Hey, you bastards enjoying the show, huh? Ronan kicked Han, making him cry out in pain. If you don't want to end up like this bastard, get your asses back to your den. Han fearfully clutched the bleeding wound on his head. Of course, remember to leave the money you just extorted. Compensate for my mental damage too. Yes. Hearing him say that, they immediately agreed. We'll return it. Ronan returned the extorted money to the boy, leaving him very bewildered. Here, this is yours. This is... The boy asked Ronan wonderingly. NH really gave it all to me. This is more than the money they took from me. It's okay. That's all I need. The boy was so happy he cried. hugging the money bag tightly. Don't worry about them seeking revenge or anything. They don't have the guts to hang around here anymore. Thank you, sir. You're too kind. Ronan waved his hand dismissively as if it were a small matter. It's nothing. Just go home. Axel stood in the middle, clenching his fists shyly. What's wrong? He said. Really, sorry. Axel bowed his head, apologizing to the boy. I'm sorry. He recalled how scared he had been. I know I shouldn't have done that. Even if Han threatened me. Axel cried, tears streaming down. But I was so scared. So I couldn't do anything. It's all my fault. I sincerely apologize. The boy let out a sigh and smiled. Axel, you're crying like that again. When Han brought you here, when I saw you, I thought, you were probably in the same situation as me. He placed a hand on Axel's shoulder comfortingly. So, Axel, don't blame yourself like that. He smiled brightly. It's not your fault, but I still accept your sentiment. The boy bowed goodbye, hugged the money bag, and left. Seeing this, Axel also waved goodbye to him. Ronan's gaze was thoughtful, looking down. Axel, in his eyes, seemed like a kind and lovely girl. Ronan smirked. Well then, she's not that bad. He nudged Axel's shoulder lightly, startling him. Hey, do you remember I said I had something to discuss with you? Huh, oh. Right. Ronan turned away and said to him, Good, then we'll meet here again in 4 days. What 4 days? Axel turned back to ask Ronan, What do you mean I have things to do now? See you later? When the moon rises? Ronan drew his sword, looking at Axel with a warning gaze that made him turn pale with fear. Of course. If you don't come, you know the consequences, right? He quickly ran off, leaving Axel alone, speechless. That's it then. I'm off. If you're late, you're doomed. Hearing this, Axel froze, stunned. Huh. Deep in the forest stood a small house. Ronan stood before the door, sunlight shining on him, casting his shadow onto the door. Ronan held a bouquet of fresh roses. Flowers. Is this too much? I remember she likes flowers. So I picked whatever flowers I saw. He felt embarrassed and wanted to throw the bouquet away. Knew it. I should just toss them. The wooden house door opened. A pair of feet stepped out. I wonder who's outside. Turns out it's you, Ronan. Ronan glanced behind him. You're back. When I was in the army, I always thought, what should I say when I see her again? Should I apologize for leaving without a word, or say I missed her a lot? I always thought about today. And yet, that's all the disciplined soldier Ronan could utter. Enro smiled radiantly. All I can say is, you're home early today. He froze at her words. Ronan, holding the bouquet, bowed his head and replied, Yes, I'm back. The meal Enro had prepared was fully laid out on the table. Oh my. I didn't expect you to live to see the day. She hugged the bouquet, smiling happily. Getting flowers from my cold little brother. Ronan's older sister, Enro. Enro squealed with delight. So happy I could die. As long as you like it. She wanted to get more food for Ronan but was refused by him. My adorable little brother. Is that enough to fill you up? Let me get you more stew. Thanks, but I'm full. Ronan looked at Enro and asked wonderingly, But I have a question for you. How old are you this year? Huh. Goodness. Ronan, I'm 22. But why do you ask? He hesitated in reply. I just suddenly forgot. How could you forget your own sister's age? Enro stood up worriedly. Did you hit your head, or do you have a fever? If she's 22, then there are 10 years left before those bastards arrive. She came closer and placed her hand on Ronan's forehead. I don't think you have a fever. Just as I thought. This sister of mine is still the same. He stared blankly at Enro's worried expression. Still smiling and kind like that? Are you sure you're okay? And warm too? I wish this moment could last forever. Ronan's hand touched Iroh's. But only 10 more years. To protect this world and her, He took her hand and put it down. I have something to tell you. Huh, what is it? Ronan informed her. I plan to join the academy. Iroh looked at him and asked, What, the academy? Iroh's eyes lit up upon hearing him say that. Really? Iroh was so happy she cried. Say it again. You're serious. Right. Ah. Yes, I'm serious. But every time I mentioned it, you never listened. Ronan was speechless seeing her actions. Can't wait anymore, huh? Iroh rummaged through everything in the house. While searching, she said, I knew this day would come. You're very smart, so you'll definitely excel at anything you want. Thanks, Iroh. Iroh slammed a pot onto the ground. So, this is it. Both looked into the large pot. A surprise gift for you. This is... Inside the pot was a pile of gold coins. Money. Why so much money? I secretly saved it to surprise you. Ronan stared at the pile of gold, stunned. If you don't change your mind about the academy, then I want to pay your tuition right away. Sis, you're too good. When did you start doing this? He continued. But, although I'm very grateful, I want you to spend this money. This isn't enough. Huh, what do you mean? Iroh put her hands on her hips, looking at Ronan. It looks like that, but it's a lot. I don't know where you plan to study. But the Royal School, Filian Academy. She was surprised when he mentioned the name of the school he intended to attend. Huh. A piercing scream erupted from the wooden house, echoing throughout the forest. What? Chapter 5. Filian Imperial Academy. The best pioneering educational institution in the entire empire, with the most renowned professors on the entire continent. Along with that is an incredibly abundant fund from the great families of the empire. This is the place that gives students the best educational opportunities, prestigious enough to be called a factory producing heroes. Its reputation is immense. Grand General Adasan, Master Swordsman Shulfin, the worst criminal, the Ice Witch, etc. Those from Filian were quite useful during the war, useful to the point where I can understand why the Grand General mentioned it to me. In the dark forest, Ronan walked alone, carrying his backpack. Well, with such high admission standards. He thought about Iroh. But thinking about her reaction, it's okay if it's Ronan. You can do it. Ronan's footsteps stopped, his eyes showing determination. All right, I'll show her the results. A pair of feet blocked Ronan's path. But before that, I didn't know you'd be here. Axel stepped out from behind the tree. Marcel! That's not Marcel. It's Axel. Seeing Ronan, he became flustered. Besides, you said you wouldn't leave me alone if I didn't come, so forget about that. Tonight, we'll be very busy, and there are a few things I need to check about you. Ronan threw the backpack down heavily. A test. A test. He held out his hand, leaving Axel completely confused. What are you suddenly talking about? It's nothing much. Ronan smiled, pointing at himself. Use your psychic powers on me, Axel. Lift me as high as you can with your ability. Let's see. After hearing that, Axel's face dripped with sweat. Use psychic power. Why all of a sudden? Axel asked Ronan again, confused. Wait, why do I have to do something dangerous like that? It's not that dangerous. First, just do as I say. Let's see. Axel held his hands out in front, his expression very timid. I won't die, so don't be afraid. All right. Then, a stream of blue light emerged from his hands. I'll start. Then Axel shouted loudly, raising his hands towards where Ronan stood. Invisible hand. Ronan was surprised to see the streams of light surrounding him. The light streams circled Ronan's legs, lifting him off the ground. Look, it's much better now. Ronan floated in midair, laughing with delight. Better than I thought. Although still lacking in height and balance, this feeling is very similar to back then. In the battle with a Huit, What helped me fight on par with that bastard, was psychic power. Psychic power is a rare ability. It's considered rare even among mages. This means he will become one of the most crucial factors to be able to assist in the battle against a Huit. Starting like this, Axel closed his eyes, trembling, and said to Ronan, "Not bad. Right, Ronan. It's getting a bit hard for me to control." From above, Ronan drew his sword, looking at Axel. "Can you come down? Now, hold on a little longer. I have one more thing to check." Axel frowned, worried for Ronan. "I'll come down myself." What do you mean? Come down yourself?" Ronan raised his sword high. He slashed into the air. Axel's eyes widened, seeing Ronan's action. "What is this?" Ronan jumped down from high up without any injury. "Just now." "Ronan, cut my mana flow." Axel asked again about Ronan's previous action. "What did you just do?" "It's nothing. Just an acrobatic movement I've known how to do since forever." Ronan's fist flew straight into Axel's head. "What do you mean, acrobatic movement? This is the first time I've seen someone cut a mana flow." "Forget it, because I don't know the reason why either." Ronan sheathed his sword, thinking, finding out what this skill is a whole page of homework I have to do. The sword reflected the image of the giant Ahuit. The reason my sword had an effect on him. Maybe that's the reason why. Well, I can think about this more slowly later. So for now, Ronan picked up his backpack again. "There's work to be done. Anyway, you passed. Axel." Axel caught a bag Ronan tossed over. "Take this and follow me. Before the moon completely disappears, there are a few things we need to do." Ronan smirked and said, "Late at night like this? What do you mean?" Under the moonlight, Ronan's eyes glowed. This could become the first page in the autobiography of Ronan, the greatest book in the entire empire. There, moonlight shone down on the gloomy forest. In the forest were only Axel and Ronan. Filian Academy. "Huh!" Axel walked while panting. "Did I hear wrong? Ronan, we're going to Filian Academy, the place where only the elite members of the Empire are present." Ronan glanced at Axel to answer his question. "You and me? That's correct. So don't ask again. It's annoying." He looked at Axel's hesitant appearance and asked again, "What's wrong? Don't you want to go?" "No. That's not the issue." Axel replied confusedly. "You have talent in martial arts, so you'll probably be fine." "But what do I know?" Ronan's gaze towards Axel turned fierce. "Besides, I'm both cowardly and sullen." "Hey, Axel, do you want to keep living like that?" Hearing that, Axel was startled. Axel froze upon hearing Ronan's words. "With your innate talent, you're wasting it by being a laughingstock for the world. Is that really the life you desire?" Ronan crossed his arms, closing his eyes. "Honestly, you have a really stupid way of thinking. You're cowardly and sullen." Ronan's words were like a knife stabbing straight into Axel's chest. "You became a crybaby, crying for every reason. And you're a failure afraid. But that's okay too, because from now on, you can still change. But time that has passed cannot be regained. And one day, you will regret it, just like I once did." An image of Ronan holding a blood-stained sword, standing in the middle of a battlefield, from his previous life. He placed his hand on Axel's shoulder. "What do you think changed your mind yet?" "Ronan..." Suddenly, Axel's cheeks flushed red. "Oh my God! Ronan!" Axel covered his mouth with his hand, looking at Ronan with deeply moved eyes. "Worried about someone like me. All this time. I won't force you because this is your life, so if you want, you can go back to that lifestyle." Axel shouted when he saw Ronan turning to leave. "Okay. I'm busy now. So..." "Wait, Ronan, I want to change too." Ronan smiled smugly upon hearing him say that. "I'll go to Filian with you, so teach me what I need to do." Outwardly, Ronan acted indifferent, but inwardly he was very happy. "All right. This is the first time you've shown your masculinity, Axel. So, for the first step of the great masculine Axel, shall we start right away?" Ronan's face clearly showed cunning and satisfaction as he turned his back to Axel. Good. Just as I predicted. The fire flared up, warming the surrounding air considerably. Axel became wary, seeing the light in the forest. Ronan and Axel hid in the bushes, whispering, "So, Ronan, that's my first step, huh? Of course." Beside the fire was a goblin. That's the best opponent I could find. To bring out all your talent. The goblin was leaning against a large rock, resting. That's a moonlit night goblin. Around it, many other goblins lay scattered on the ground, sleeping. It's also the leader. Ronan smiled broadly, patting Axel's shoulder encouragingly. Seeing the situation, Axel trembled, pale with fear. "What do you think, Axel? Isn't it great? How?" Ronan's eyes lit up as if he had found prey. "Now then, shall we begin?" Chapter 6. Ronan and Axel lurked in the grass. Moon goblins. The type of goblin that often appears in this area. Most people easily distinguish them from normal goblins by their yellow skin and deformed bodies. But the true characteristic of moon goblins is they are particularly obsessed with gold and all kinds of treasures. They like to ambush merchants and rob them. They gather everything they steal in one place and organize festivals. The light of the treasures shines brightly in the night sky. On a full moon night, like tonight. After hearing this, Axel trembled with fear. "So the real reason we came here is to... That's right." Ronan's face showed excitement. "We'll steal all that gold and treasure." Axel observed the situation while saying, "I've never heard of goblins gathering treasure in one place and holding a festival." Ronan opened the empty backpack inside. "But how do you know that, I have my ways." Ronan put his arm around Axel's shoulder, making him very flustered. "Anyway, you just need to use your remote control ability to move all that treasure into this bag. Take advantage while they're still sound asleep." Their faces close together. Easy, right? Doesn't sound easy at all. What if I make a mistake and wake them up? Axel imagined the scene of the goblin waking up. Then, big trouble? He fearfully asked Ronan again, making him very annoyed. "This is too dangerous. We should reconsider." "You're such a coward." Ronan started explaining the theory to Axel. "Listen, to get into Philian Academy, we need two things. First is money. We need to pay that insanely expensive tuition. Second is practical experience. Money is an issue, but experience is even more important. You know, Philian is full of nobles professionally trained since birth. Do you want to beat those people? There's only one way, Axel." Ronan threatened Axel. "That is, to risk your life doing it. Those goblins are perfect opponents. We'll get both money and experience, killing two birds with one stone." Axel slumped down, crying in two streams. "Did I say something wrong, or do you have a better idea?" No. Then let's decide on that. Go." Ronan patted his back hard, encouragingly. "All right, let's do it." The moon shone on the leaves in the forest. Gold items were flying through the air, then fell straight into the bag Ronan had opened. More and more things fell in. Okay. A little more. Just a little more. Axel strained, eyes wide, cheeks puffed out, using all his strength to move items into the bag. All right. Just like that. Upon hearing Ronan's command, the items immediately fell. "Release." Ronan grinned excitedly, seeing each item fall into the bag. "Excellent." Ronan looked inside the bag. "This is the last bag." The two bags were full of gold and treasures. "It's all full." Ronan was ecstatic. He playfully turned Axel's head, messing up his hair like a crow's nest. "Told you, Axel. Experience is number one." "Yeah, that's right. We did it." Ronan looked at him, smiling contentedly. Axel smiled contentedly. "She's more talented than I thought. I did it." He didn't know that behind him. Ronan was smiling like a demon. "I found a good subordinate." He reached into the bag to check and said, "All right. The bags are full of gold. Let's go." "Really? So we're done?" Ronan closed the bag and replied, "Yeah. Nothing else to do. Let's head back." Before trouble found them, a crow quickly flew forward. Poachers chased after that crow. Damn it! They shouted loudly. Hey, you two brats over there! Ronan and Axel, holding the bags, were about to leave when they heard the shouts and turned around. Stop right there! Ronan wondered aloud. Which lunatics are making noise in the middle of the night like this? Because the noise was so loud, it woke up the goblin leader. What's going on? It looked towards the treasure chest. It's this late. Where is that noise coming from? The goblin discovered all the treasure in the chest had disappeared. What is this? Where did all my sparkling treasure go? Seeing this, it shouted loudly, waking up all the others. Thieves! They started gathering together. What? Thieves? Where are they? The goblin leader quickly spotted them. They're looking towards where Ronan and Axel left. The two were confused when they saw the goblins had spotted them. Ah, damn! The goblins roared angrily. They rushed towards the two. Not good! Seeing this, Axel was terrified. He was so scared he collapsed to the ground. Ronan saw this and immediately got into a ready fighting stance. Phew. I knew it. Couldn't possibly get away that smoothly. Axel sat on the ground looking up at Ronan, his whole body trembling with fear. He asked Ronan desperately, Now what? Ronan, should we ditch these bags and run? No way. Ronan slowly drew his sword. Without this money, how do you plan to pay the tuition? How do you plan to earn this amount? But that's not important right now. The goblins charged quickly, their eyes red with anger as if wanting to devour Ronan and Axel alive. Axel screamed, wanting to cling to Ronan. They're coming! They're coming! Ronan looked at his sword, thinking, a long sword forged from cheap metal. With this weight and hardness. Ronan's eyes reflected on the sharp blade. Probably good for 15 strikes. There are about 30 of them. Their sharp claws lunged towards him. Axel behind Ronan screamed, Ronan! Ronan's eyes darkened. He raised his sword, sensing the surroundings. Careful. 15 strikes. Ronan swiftly drew his sword. With just one slash, he sent a goblin's head flying. Blood spurted from their heads. Axel's eyes widened in astonishment, watching the goblin heads separate from their necks. Ronan's sword was covered in their blood. Ronan's eyes were sharp, his expression excited like a wolf hunting prey. 14 strikes left. Chapter 7. Crows shrieked piercingly in the dead of night. At the same time, the final sword strike was delivered. Ronan let out a breath. This is the last one, right? Wasn't too difficult. Axel looked at the scene before him, unable to believe it, thinking, impossible. What did I just witness? Recalling Ronan's divine moment just now, she was incredibly surprised. He decapitated 3 goblins with one strike. Oh, and the whole mob of goblins rushing from afar, too. Ronan just disappeared and reappeared instantly. With just a few sword strokes, Ronan swiftly dealt with the ill-fated goblins. Axel couldn't help but swallow hard. Looking at the incredibly cool figure in the distance, Axel felt a bit excited. I never expected to witness a scene like this. Ronan turned back and asked, Axel, what are you doing? Planning to keep sitting there daydreaming? Axel finally snapped out of it, stammering, Sorry. I didn't know. Picking up the sword, Ronan replied, No need to apologize. Hurry up and grab your stuff. He smiled and said, Let's go home. Night enveloped the silent forest. Ronan's group was still on their way to the new location. Patting his aching shoulder, he cried out, Seriously, so tired. I thought we could travel comfortably. Who knew it would be this hard? Axel beside him wasn't much better off. Placing a hand on his shoulder, Ronan thought, Just killed a few goblins and my muscles are already aching all over. Is it because I'm still growing? When I get home, I need to intensify my physical training. Suddenly Axel spoke up, asking, Ronan? What was that terrible scream just now? Ronan replied, I don't know. He thought back to hearing the scream from nowhere earlier, which caused their plan to steal the items to fail. Annoyed, he said, It's the middle of the night. What are they screaming about, those lunatics? Just wait. I'll definitely make them pay for their actions. The two didn't notice an arrow heading towards them at that moment. Immediately, the red arrow was shot without warning. It flew at high speed towards Axel. Just as she sensed something and turned around, the arrow was about to hit her. Quick as lightning, Ronan reacted, catching the arrow with his hand before Axel could even move. He cried out, "Damn it, doing it right away." At this moment, Axel grasped the situation. She cried out in fear. "An arrow! Where did this thing suddenly come from?" Ronan said warily. "Could it be from that damned cursed forest? Why are there so many lunatics there?" But suddenly, two strangers appeared behind them. "Huh, who are you two?" The black-haired one spoke up. "What's this? They're human. And kids, too." The remark quickly succeeded in angering Ronan. He chuckled, walking towards Ronan's group. "Sorry, kids. We saw something rustling in the distance, so we thought it was a monster." As he spoke, his eyes were glued to Ronan's bag full of treasure. He feigned guilt. "Oh my, we almost killed someone. Huh." He again signaled with his eyes to the one behind. He pretended to care. "Are you two hurt?" But before he could finish, Ronan cut him off. Ronan exposed him. "Nonsense. You two can't even hide the look in your eyes." Seeing they were quickly exposed, the two were stunned. "Huh," Ronan continued. "Stop the pointless actions and answer." His eyes flashed golden, looking extremely dangerous. He threatened, "Who are you two?" Seeing those eyes made their skin crawl. They cried out together. The black-haired one still tried to appear harmless, chuckling as he approached Ronan. Thinking back, it really was our fault. "We forgot to introduce ourselves. Sorry, kid. We are—" As he spoke, he secretly drew his sword, then swung it towards Ronan, shouting his introduction. "Caliburo," Ronan mumbled. "Caliburo." Then, quick as lightning, he grabbed the man's arm tightly, making him cry out in pain. Then, he quickly delivered an uppercut, making the man's eyes roll back as he spat blood. Ronan mocked. "A name for shit." The blonde one saw his friend quickly taken down and charged forward. "You damned brat!" Axel stood aside, witnessing. Seeing this, she called out his name. "Ronan!" While simultaneously using her magic power, she shouted a warning. "Danger!" Then she used the invisible hand to restrain the blonde man. Finding his body immobile, he cried out, "What, I can't move?" Seeing this, Ronan cheered excitedly. "Oh, Axel!" he praised. "Well done." Then he kicked the knife out of the blonde man's hand, quickly grabbing the knife. He then unleashed invisible slashes. The blonde man still hadn't realized what was happening. His body received numerous slashes. He only managed to say, "Who the hell are you?" Before finishing his sentence, he collapsed with a painful cry. Seeing the body collapse before her, Axel cried out in shock. She asked fearfully, "Ronan? Is he dead?" Ronan calmly replied, "Dead. Why should I spare someone who wanted to kill me?" "Didn't you hear what they said they're Caliburo?" Axel replied vaguely. "Caliburo," Ronan explained to her. "Poaching, kidnapping, human trafficking. That group can commit any crime. They are the most ruthless criminal group in the Empire. So, you know..." As he spoke, he delivered another fatal stab to the dark-haired man. "If it weren't for me, your organs would have been taken by them. Today would also have become your secret funeral day." Axel, helpless, couldn't refute anything and cried out, "That..." Not letting her continue, Ronan replied, "Knowing who they are and still letting them live and commit crimes is truly foolish." Suddenly, the bag moved. Ronan was just saying to Axel, "Stop messing around, hurry and get the stuff," and when the bag jumped, making him pause. Seeing the bag continuously moving, Ronan wondered, "What's wrong with this bag? Why is it moving?" Axel replied, "Those two must have brought it here. A hunted animal." While untying the bag, Ronan speculated, "Yeah, probably. All right, all right. We're opening the bag right now." Just as they opened the bag, suddenly sharp blue eyes stared towards him. A dark shadow shot up, accompanied by a cry echoing through the forest, leaving the two unable to react. Looking at the strange blue bird before them, both stared blankly. Ronan stammered, "What's with this chicken?" Chapter 8. Its feathers are blue. The chicken didn't understand what Ronan was saying. It chirped, "Cheep, cheep." Axel clasped his hands, looking at it with fascination. Ronan, this is the first time I've seen a bluebird, Ronan replied. Me too. But those handcuffs? Are they Caliburo's cuffs? A sturdy iron handcuff appeared. Caliburo's hunting cuffs. They disrupt mana and restrict the wearer's movement. Ronan pondered. I thought they rarely used these, or only when catching mythical creatures, so maybe the bluebird? Ronan pondered. I thought they rarely used these, or only when catching mythical creatures, so maybe the bluebird. Suddenly, the bluebird screamed unexpectedly, seemingly disbelieving what was happening. It cried out, Finally, connected! Axel fearfully hugged Ronan, asking tremblingly, Did the bird just talk? Ronan annoyedly pushed Axel's face away. You think it really talked? It's communication magic? Ronan thought to himself. It connected as soon as it flew out. He looked at the thing lying on the ground, continuing to speculate. Maybe that bag can block mana. Are you the owner of this bird? And miraculously, his voice reached some mysterious person. He said, That's right. My name is Varan, currently researching mythical creatures. I am... No... a guard of Markbeth. No matter how many times I tried to communicate, it didn't work. I was about to report it. What luck. But... Sorry, who are you? Ronan pushed Axel aside, replying clearly. We're just passers-by. We just fought with the poachers, the ones who caught the bird. And then, this is too bloody to describe. He recalled fighting them, not knowing how to put it. He looked at Markbeth and continued. We saved it. Markbeth exclaimed in surprise. What poachers? I thought about it, but I didn't expect this to actually happen. I owe you a great debt. I don't know how to repay you. Axel seemed to have gotten used to it, approaching to look at the bird with fascination. No need, but how do we return the bird to you? It seems tired from being tied up. Ronan looked at the cuff on the bird's leg, asking wonderingly, If I take this off, can it fly? The other person replied, Probably. Dream birds remember home very well, so if you release it. Before he finished, Ronan drew his sword in response. All right then. He made one swift, neat sword slash. Before the bird's surprised and fearful eyes, it only dared to chirp a few times. Immediately after, the iron chain shattered into many pieces. He sheathed his sword, telling it, Go back to your father, blue bird. Don't make your father worry. Ronan didn't know that in its eyes. He now looked exactly like a prince from a romance story. Radiating a sparkling aura, it gazed at him, utterly infatuated. It chirped, cheep, cheep. Ronan looked at it wonderingly. Huh? It's sticking its butt in my face. What does that mean? Ronan looked at the bird in front of him, thinking how unsightly it was. Varan replied, It wants you to pluck a feather before it flies away. It seems this little guy wants to see you again. After you pluck the dream bird's feather, it can lead its master to your location like a compass. Have you plucked the feather yet? So, if you come to the research center, remember to visit Markbeth and me. I will repay you. Having said that, the bird with the golden seal flew away. Ronan watched it go, eyes wide in admiration. It's really fast. Axel looked at Ronan's hand curiously. What are you holding? Ronan. Following Axel's words, Ronan looked down at his hand, only now, noticing. In his hand was something round. Amidst the empty forest, he looked at his hand, wondering, What's this? A few days later, at a place resembling a camp or trading market, people continuously transported goods. A merchant held up a blue sapphire gemstone necklace, examining it closely. Then he praised admiringly. Oh, the value and craftsmanship of this piece of jewelry. Truly a precious item. I'll value it at 20 gold coins for you, said the head of the Carabel merchant group, Duan Carabel. Everything you brought out is valuable. I'm really lucky today. To think I could meet a customer like you. Axel hid behind Ronan's arm, hearing him speak generously. Finally, someone understands. Those other merchants are all frauds. Just earlier, Ronan had argued with another merchant. This thing is only worth 5 gold coins. Are you blind, old man? The old man retorted irritably. What did you say? Axel had to pull Ronan away. Calm down, Ronan. Ronan sighed in frustration. I was really angry. But luckily, I met a sharp-eyed merchant like you. It was worth wandering around just now. Carabel happily shook his hand, thanking him. I'm very happy to hear you say that. Axel silently sighed in relief. He asked further, Do you want to appraise anything else? Ronan reached into his pocket, took something out, and replied, well then, how about this? I don't intend to sell it. I'm just curious to know what it is. The thing he took out had a color quite similar to a banknote, sparkling and oval-shaped. As soon as the merchant saw it, he had to adjust his glasses in surprise. Ronan looked towards the object, recalling, that night, the bluebird or dream something left this behind. This egg. At first, I thought it pooped on my hand, but no. Remembering that moment, he had frantically cursed. This chicken dares to repay me with this pile. And to test it, Ronan shouted while throwing it towards the rock. Incredible, he thought. Did I throw it at the rock to test it? Surprisingly, the egg even managed to break the rock. And I learned, it's very hard. Both froze, staring at the shattered rock. Ronan was stunned. Huh? He watched the merchant examining the egg. I'm not sure if this is an egg or what, Mum, but it's definitely the product of a very rare mythical creature. It could be a treasure worth thousands of gold. Carabel examined it for a long time, his face serious. This color, this texture. Don't tell me. Ronan's face brightened looking at him, and right after that, the merchant delivered a blunt verdict. Horse dung. Ronan's face froze. He was speechless. Ronan took the egg, denying, Of course not. The merchant scratched his head and laughed. Right. I don't know what it is either. I think it's a rare item. Why don't you take it somewhere professional for appraisal? Ronan sighed, putting it back in his pocket. Probably should do that. Now I'm curious. Probably can't sell it yet. Axel pondered nearby. So, that's hardened dung? Ronan continued the conversation. Do you sell books about Filion? The merchant asked back. Filion the Academy. Ronan pointed towards Axel, explaining, Yes, we're planning to take the Filion entrance exam, but we don't know much about it. The merchant seemed to grasp the key point, exclaiming excitedly, Entrance exam, perfect timing. My daughter is also preparing for the entrance exam. Maybe she can help you too. She should be back soon. At this moment, a female voice called out from the distance. What is it? Dad? Who are they? Carabel and the other two turned around. He smiled. She's back. This is my only daughter, Maria. The girl with long hair blowing in the wind looked towards them. Ronan was startled. Maria? It's her. Carabel called her over. Maria, greet these two friends. These are the important people Dad just traded with. She asked in surprise. Really? These little babies? Hearing that, her father was startled and scolded. This kid, what kind of talk is that? Sorry, kids. She grew up in the merchant group, so she speaks a bit rudely. Axel waved his hand. It's okay, sir. But Ronan probably... Before Axel could finish asking, he saw Ronan walking away. Ronan approached her and spoke up. Hey, are you Maria? She looked at him and replied, What is it? Ronan continued. Maria has the middle name Sen, right? She confirmed. Confused. Yeah. But how do you know? Ronan sweated, confused. Strange. You really look like her. But the person I know? Hey, I'll ask you one more question. Lean your ear over here. He beckoned with his hand. She leaned closer. Wait. What do you want to ask? Ronan whispered. So, down there. Do you have that thing, that bird? She looked at him like he was mentally deficient. Did I just hear? What nonsense was that? Ronan, however, seemed very serious, waiting for an answer. Maria pondered her thoughts. Private parts. As if not understanding her angry expression, Ronan interjected, No matter how I look at it, it seems you don't have that. Could it be that old man has another child he doesn't even know about, huh? While thinking and glancing over, he immediately received a slap to the face. Maria angrily shouted, "Shut up! You psycho!" Ronan could still speculate. This slap. This familiar feeling. It's her. Countess Maria Sen. Maria Sen. When I was a disciplined soldier at a place called Amarklen, Maria was in charge of military equipment, with an excellent work ethic and an open personality, able to strike up a conversation with anyone without hesitation. Maria was an admirable person, but when talking about private parts amidst men's conversations, Maria would become unusually angry and did an incomprehensible act, which was slapping me straight across the face. Before, I was always curious about the reason. If I could meet Maria again, I wanted to ask about that reason, but that opportunity never came, because Maria passed away before I could ask. But unexpectedly, I found the answer here. Countess Maria, you are a woman. She glared at him. What are you laughing at? Wasn't that hit enough? Then I'll give you another one. Ronan furiously rapped her on the head. Stop it, this girl! Seeing I let you slap me once, you take advantage. I let you slap me because I was wrong earlier. But I won't. Before finishing, Maria headbutted his chin, shouting, So what if I hit you a second time, huh, psycho? What are you going to do? The two grabbed each other's hair. Ronan, out of options, cursed. Damn it, this crazy woman! The two fought fiercely. The other two witnessing this scene stood frozen, speechless. Don't fight anymore. They quickly ran out to stop the two. A while later, Axel stared blankly. What's with these two? They just fought as if to the death. Maria let down her hair and asked, So these are the things left for you guys to use? Ronan rested his chin on his hand and replied, Need to check if they're okay. Axel looked at them, thinking, but now... Ronan chatted with Maria. If they're not okay, I'll go buy something else. And Axel looked at the scene before him, completely bewildered. They're getting along again. Maria drew a sword, asking him, 3 swords and a magic wand. Why did they give you 3 swords? Isn't carrying them all difficult? Ronan said casually. Well, just in case. I use swords a bit roughly. So, how are they? Maria commented. Well, they're not bad, but this black iron sword is the best. Black iron is quite sturdy, so it's an item renowned knights often seek. I don't know how roughly you use swords, but this sword surely can't be broken. She handed the sword to him. Ronan took it, thinking to himself, Oh, so this is the black iron sword. It used to be my favorite weapon in the past. Maria continued, but this wand has a very good magic stone embedded in it, so leaving this for you... Could this girl be a mage? Maria smiled, looking at Axel. He nodded. Yes, that's right. She asked, What type of magic do you use? Axel replied shyly, Remote control magic. Maria praised in surprise. Remote control, impressive. If you do well, you might even get a scholarship. Axel scratched his head, chuckling nervously. Really? Maria looked at Ronan. So the problem now is, what technique will you demonstrate in the practical exam? Ronan asked, scratching himself. Technique. She explained thoroughly. Don't you know to get into Filion? You need to impress the professors and show them your technique in the practical exam. Of course, the written exam is very difficult, but it can't compare to the practical exam. So the main point I want to make is, if you do well in the practical exam, you'll pass. In other words, if you can't prove your worth, then you should forget about entering the academy. Ronan sighed and replied, What? A swordsman just needs to be good at swordsmanship. Right. Good heavens. So what do people usually demonstrate? Maria said, Well, most nobles demonstrate their family's secret techniques. As for the majority of warriors and other candidates, they demonstrate their personal mana combat techniques. Ronan interrupted. Wait, What mana? Young swordsmen at this age can use mana even if they aren't mages. Maria looked at him in surprise. What are you talking about? If you're a future student of Filion, hey, using it is natural. You can sense mana too, right? And with that mana, you can apply it in actual combat. That's the most basic of basics. What's with that expression of yours? Ronan looked at her with question marks all over, as if hearing it for the first time. She pointed at him tremblingly. Don't tell me you don't know how to sense mana. Ronan asked casually. What? Isn't it similar to using aura? Maria was completely shocked. She covered her face, collapsing and mumbling. Oh my God! I'm talking to a guy like this. And he's rambling about getting into Filion. Aura and mana are similar. How can you say that? Ronan placed his hand on his neck, replying softly, Maybe I knew about it already. You're really exaggerating the issue. Maria stood up and said, It's no use, get out now. Ronan looked at her wonderingly. Huh, why so suddenly? She didn't answer him, continuing. Also, can I borrow these short swords? I left my sword at the blacksmith's. Ronan watched Maria hold the sword, only able to say, What? Wait, why are you acting so suddenly? What if you damage my swords? Maria smiled and walked away. Don't worry, because the match will end before that happens. If that happens, I'll compensate you double. No, triple. How about that? Ronan couldn't say anything more and sighed. Good grief. Maria looked at him seriously. So stop rambling, follow me, I'll give you special training. Mana is the source of natural power, like air. It's a type of natural energy that exists everywhere in the world. However, that doesn't mean everyone can use it. To use mana, one needs to see and feel the mana within oneself, and be able to use it. Sensing mana. To reach this stage, one needs training, innate talent. Countless personal reasons can influence it. But usually, it takes a year of practice to start sensing it. And future students of Filion have all passed this stage. After practicing their own mana techniques, they apply to Filion. Though, now do you understand, let alone sensing it? You can't even distinguish between aura and mana, and yet you want to get into Filion. That's meaningless. Maria held her sword, looking at him. She sighed. All right, fine. From your perspective, aura is also a type of mana. But the difference between them is like heaven and earth. Ronan asked, What's the difference? Even all the famous geniuses, arduously training for a minimum of 10 years, shedding blood ceaselessly, only then can they awaken their innate power. That is aura. Maria asked again. So, have you understood anything yet? Ronan replied foolishly. Well, not really. In his memory, he sometimes encountered them on the battlefield. They boasted of being aura users and possessing extraordinary power. They were really annoying. But in the end, they weren't that scary. Because if decapitated, anyone would die. Maria interrupted his train of thought. All right. Let's leave the explanation for later. Shall we begin? I think you'll learn faster if you absorb it with your body instead of your head. Ronan silently observed her stance, guessing, well, she's just a young girl. Instantly, Maria lunged towards Ronan. He widened his eyes in surprise at her incredible speed. The clash of swords produced a deafening sound. He glanced at her. Oh, impressive, huh? Facing her murderous expression, Ronan and Maria Sen were in an incredibly tense duel. 3 swords clashed. Ronan thought, oh, look at that. His sword and hers pushed each other away, creating a relatively strong force. He thought in surprise, so young, yet she's already that strong. She uses dual swords too. Maria felt somewhat worried. I'm not sure. But is this a type of mana combat technique? Seeing him stunned, she wondered to herself, what's wrong with this guy? The two continued to duel fiercely. She thought to herself, I was planning to finish him in just one blow. I was planning to show him the power of mana and make him give up the test, because it would be better to suffer humiliation at the testing area. But, oh, I'm the one being pushed back. How can this be the skill of someone who can't use mana? Impossible. Suddenly, he asked her, "What are you thinking about?" While careless, she was pushed back and her sword knocked away again. His eyes suddenly shone like a cat's in the night. He held the sword high. Then he shouted, "Don't block any more, dodge!" While she was surprised, his sword swung down. Luckily, she dodged just in time. She jumped back and slid a distance away. The sound of the sword scraping against the ground created piercing noises. She sighed in relief. If I were slower, something might have happened. You're not ordinary at all. Huh. He smiled back. You too. As he sheathed his sword, he continued, "Besides mana, you also have great talent in swordsmanship. But your center of gravity is a bit unstable." Then he turned his head and walked away, not forgetting to add, "If you fix that, you'll be much better." She asked back in surprise, Where are you going?" Angrily pointing her sword towards him, she said, "Don't tell me you think you won." He replied calmly, "Whatever. Remember your promise. You said it, didn't you?" 3 times. Her eyes widened in surprise, asking again, She hesitated. "No, when did I?" He ignored her words and continued, "Remember the price of the swords." While she was surprised and speechless, someone's finger gently tapped her back. The person hesitated. Turns out it was Axel. Understanding her feelings at that moment, he smiled and said, "Well done." Suddenly, someone called him. "Hurry up! Axel, I'm tired!" he stammered in reply. She stood stunned, wondering, who are they? Ronan saw Axel just arriving and asked, "Why are you so slow?" She could only laugh. Today's sky was cloudy and very clear blue, signaling a very beautiful day. People were bustling, transporting goods. Someone said, "I only came here to get money." Ronan and Axel stared in surprise at the thing before them. Ronan asked, "But what is that books?" Before them were books neatly arranged in 2 briefcases. Maria replied, "Yes, that's what you need to study for the Filion written exam. I've compiled it." She put on a serious face and continued, "Don't need it. The exam is in a month." Axel's eyes shone like stars. Ronan calmly asked back, "Need it? But why do you have to do this?" Ronan intended to draw his sword before her threateningly. "If you're plotting something, mid-sentence," she replied. "No way. Don't worry. I just like you guys." Then she laughed heartily again, continuing, "I'm doing this because I want you guys to pass. Of course, it's free." Axel's face looked hypnotized after hearing that. "Because I want you guys to pass. Of course, it's free." Axel's face looked hypnotized after hearing that. Ronan sighed in relief and replied, If it's free, then..." She continued, interrupting him. "If possible, I'd even want to tutor you 2 privately, but I have to go now." She lightly punched his chest, laughing. "Study hard if you still haven't. After this, I won't let it slide." "Got it." Ronan smiled back. "You have to work really hard, too." She got onto the carriage, waved, and said cheerfully, "Well then, see you in the capital on exam day. Remember to read all the books." Ronan looked down at his palm, thinking, "I have to train this weak body. I also need to study because I can't rely on luck." But this feeling isn't too bad. Ronan's life after returning home still similar to the past, but with small changes. He ate with Iroh, to the point of surprising her. He looked like he enjoyed eating very much. He ate until his stomach was always full after every meal. Iroh said happily, "My little brother eats really well.